Streaming didn't ruin gaming, and neither did esports. Greed did. Now, I've been hearing a lot of talk about people saying that, streaming ruined gaming and esports ruined gaming, that, streamers ruin gaming through, try harding too much, which then, follow through into esports ruining gaming because everybody tries hard, everybody sweats, nobody just wants to sit down with a game and have fun anymore. But neither of those ruin gaming. If we really look back at what, I'm not even gonna say ruin gaming because I'm not one of them doom and gloom people who say, oh, all the gaming sucks now and everything is just bad. Gaming itself is fine, but there's a lot of shit that could be fixed with gaming. And streaming and esports is not the problem, it's the greed. So we really look at what makes games that almost impossible to buy at times is greed. Because every time a new game comes out, you have to wonder how greedy said company is. If it's a game made by EA, it's gonna be greedy. EA used to be a company that had great games and a great gaming catalog. Over the years, they just got greedy and nobody really buys their games anymore. I.e. Madden and shit like that. Like, nobody buys Madden anymore unless they're just addicted to it at this point. Greed, in my opinion, is the sole reason why gaming is in the state it is now, where you have to ask so many questions and watch so many reviews before you even think about buying a game. You can't just really buy a game without watching any reviews on it, without watching any coverage on it, or you'll end up with a game that was like the day before fiasco all over again. Greed is what ruined gaming, not esports and not streaming.
Now a word from our sponsors.
Hi, before using Dubby, I was a father of 12. But now, after Dubby, I'm a deadbeat dad.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Let's see what we got in here for the Dubby. Big Dubby. We got the motherfucking... We got the motherfucking... We got the motherfucking... Oh, shit. So the first flavor of Dubby, we have peach and beet.
You what?
Second flavor of Dubby, we got the dragon mayo. Next flavor we have laxative.
What?
Laxy grenade. Next flavor we have this is a zero sugar powder pack. And last but certainly not least, we have Heinz Berry Splash. I'm Wasabi, and this has been your Dubby advertisement.
Now, a lot of factors go into what ruin gaming, not just one big bad greedy factor that, ruin gaming and ruin games and gaming companies in general. It's a lot of factors that go into it, like battle passes, live service games that come out with hundreds of dollars worth of DLC, games that make you pay $100 just to get the fucking game. It's a lot of things that go into why gaming is what it is now. The biggest shift, in my opinion, which I feel like back then when it first started, we didn't really think it would become such a big deal as it is now, and that's DLC. When DLC first got introduced into gaming, we didn't really think much of it. We didn't really think that it would become a part of every single game. We didn't think that fighting games, shooting games, racing games, MOBAs, mobile games would have DLC. Nobody thought that would become an integral part into every game, story, multiplayer, whatever. We didn't think that DLC would be that big of a deal. But thinking back to when DLC was first introduced, I think around late PS3 days, early PS4 days, around the time that microtransactions were introduced into games as well, we didn't really think that they would be in every single game. But the thing that I think really started the shift was DLC. When DLC started to get added to story games, and when story games started to put some of the story plot in the DLC, that was the beginning of it. That was the beginning of the end of when you buy a story game, it's just that story and there's nothing added on to it. That's gotten so common now to where when a game comes out, especially if it's a story game, and it's just the story and there's no DLC, no added content, people don't think highly of that game because there's no added content. Because people don't just think going back and playing the story over again is good anymore. People want new stuff. People want, added story DLC, added costumes, added cutscenes, added characters, added weapons. They just want People essentially want things to be live service games, because there is no just, I'm gonna buy this game, play through the story, and it might have like, you know, some unlockables, but that's it. Like, there is no story game that just has a story with some unlockables with no DLC. Like, it's even in story games now. There is no story game where I can just buy it, play it, and then that's it. There's always going to be some added content because companies want to keep their game alive, and they want to keep the game name in gaming news and keep it fresh. Hell, even Elden Ring is having a DLC, and they're adding more shit to their game. And there's probably people who bought the game when Elden Ring came out who still haven't beat the main game, but yet they're adding shit to Elden Ring. There is no just, I'm gonna buy this game, play the story, and unlock everything, and then never touch it again. There is none of that anymore. Hell, every story game has some type of online feature. Red Dead Redemption had online. Elden Ring had PvP, I think. Elden Ring, a fucking Souls-like had PvP. Why does a fucking game like Elden Ring even need PvP for? Like, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother conversation. But things like that have become so commonplace in gaming to where we've got to the point to where if the game is good enough, then we don't mind paying for the extra story in the DLC. When that's what, you know, sequels and trilogies are for, or hell, even prequels. That's what those are for. But if the game is good enough, then we don't mind paying for the DLC, like with God of War. Nobody minded paying for the DLC because, well, for one, it was free. And even if it was like, you know, $5, $10, $20, people still would have paid for it. People aren't gonna mind paying for the Elden Ring DLC. As long as the game is good enough, people don't mind paying for the DLC. And that's where we've gotten, because we've gotten so used to whole stories being locked behind paywalls in games to where we just don't really care anymore. But it's not a good practice, especially in story games. I don't know why story games have DLC, because the story game should be the story, some unlockables, maybe like an extra mission if you unlock it, and that's it. There shouldn't be this whole part of the story locked behind a paywall or you know, put into the game months after it's released, or like a year or two after it's released. That shouldn't be in story games. That's not how story games work. If I buy a story game, I want the entire story in said game, not 90% of the story. Then the last 10% of the story is gonna be released 6 months after the fucking game comes out. That's not how I want my story games to be. Because I know I might sound a little old when I say this, but I kind of do miss the old days of where if something wasn't available to you in a game, all you had to do was unlock it. You couldn't buy it. It wasn't gonna be added to the game months later. You could just unlock it. I miss the days where, especially in story games, where if I wanted something, I just had to like unlock it with in-game currency that didn't take me, you know, 80 years to earn, and I could just unlock it in game without having to spend money or without having to wait, you know, 6 months, or with some of these games like a year plus for, you know, something to be added to the game. I miss those days. I'm not trying to sound like an old motherfucker right now, but like, I miss the days where you can just unlock shit in game. And I know every game isn't like this, but there's way too many games that have basic shit locked behind a paywall. It's way too many games. Speaking of games that have basic shit locked behind a paywall, let's get off story games and go to these fucking multiplayer games, because these are the biggest culprit in what is actually ruining gaming. Now, the main culprits for this is like every first-person shooter you probably can think of. Call of Duty, Apex, even games like Overwatch, you know, Valorant, CSGO. All these games are like the perfect, like, you know, example when I say of basic shit hidden behind a paywall. Sometimes at a decent price, but at times it's been at a very, very, very stupid fucking price. And when I say basic shit hidden behind a paywall, I mean basic shit for like FPS games and a lot of multiplayer games. Like skins and guns and, you know, characters. Overwatch, I'm looking at you. They'll put basic shit behind a paywall to where if you don't pay for it, then you don't get it. And if you don't want to pay for it and you want to grind for it, it's going to take a good amount of time to grind for it. Sometimes justified, sometimes not justified. Overwatch. But yeah, like certain games will hide shit behind a paywall that shouldn't be behind a paywall. Or if you don't want to pay for it, you have to grind a stupid amount of hours just to get a gun or just to get a skin. Or a lot of the times you can't even get the skin or the gun because you have to pay for it. And if you don't want to pay for it, then you just don't get it. And a lot of these items end up not being able to, and a lot of people who play these types of games, me included, sometimes don't even get the gun or the skin that we want because the battle pass expires. And that's my other problem with a lot of games now, is that stuff is already locked behind a paywall or locked behind hours and hours and hours of grinding, and then it's locked behind a battle pass. So if you don't buy the premium version of the battle pass, then you're not getting anything. If you just have the regular battle pass, you'll get the basic shit nobody wants. But if you want that good clean Mythic Genji skin, which is like the 30th one they've done, then you need to buy the premium battle pass so you can get the skin, the characters, and everything that everybody wants. But if you don't want to spend money on a game, again, Overwatch, then you end up buying a battle pass, and once you buy the battle pass, you feel kind of forced to fucking grind the battle pass because you spent money on it, and now you're like, I don't really want to play this game anymore, but I want the skin. I paid money to have the chance to get it. Because if you don't play the game enough and the battle pass is gone, tough shit, you can't get it because it's not going to be in the store. And if it is in the store, it's going to be in the store for like 2 days, and then you can never get it again. Or it's a season exclusive skin, and once the season is over, you can't get the skin anymore. You can't just buy it with in-game currency, because the in-game currency would give you 100 fucking, gold per 10 games or something. So realistically, you can't even grind for gold. Or you could just buy it for $20, $30. Hey, more money, right? But games like Call of Duty, Apex, Overwatch, Valorant are like the biggest culprits of this, and they do this all the time, and it always has annoyed me, especially in Call of Duty when they started adding, the battle passes and the COD points and shit. So where if you want a gun, you have to grind the game to get said gun, because once the season is over with, the gun is gone, they're never gonna bring it back, and you can't get it. And if it ends up being a meta gun, now you're getting your ass kicked by this meta AR that everybody else has because they grinded the game for 2-3 fucking weeks to get the gun, and you didn't because you were playing other games or you just didn't have the fucking time to. Now you getting your ass kicked by a gun that you can never get again. Or now you see everybody rocking a cool ass skin that you wanted, but you didn't want to pay for it, or you did buy the battle pass and you just didn't have the time to grind for it, and it's gone forever and you can never get it again, ever. And battle passes kind of lump into games being live. Battle passes lump into games being live. And with games having a bunch of battle passes and shit, live service games have taken over multiplayer games. Like, it's kind of fucking crazy. Like, it's not even in just, shooters and FPSs. It's in MOBAs, shit. It's in MOBAs. It's in some fighting games. Some fighting games have battle passes. Like Fortnite, like with these, like some of these games, you end up paying $70 for the game, then you end up buying each battle pass. So you end up like, once the game, because if it's a game like Call of Duty, you pay $60-$70 for the game. Then every battle pass you have to pay like what, $10-$20? I don't know how much a Call of Duty battle passes are. But then by the time the new Call of Duty came out, you done spent about $200 on the past Call of Duty that just came out. $200. And then you finna repeat the cycle again and again and again and again, because Call of Duty releases every fucking year and they don't know how to just release a good game for a couple of years to give your fucking wallets a break. But no, every game has to come out with a battle pass. Every game has to come out with skins in the store and exclusive guns and exclusive, ray tracing bullets and shit like that with cool effects that are only available in the store. And if you don't spend more money on a game you just bought, a game you just spent $70 on, you can't get it. You can't get all the cool shit. You can't get all the cool guns. You can't, experience the little fun events and shit like everybody else can. Who can spend the money on the game if you don't have it, or even if you just don't want to spend money on a game that you just bought already. And one other thing that I did want to slide in here is gachas. Gachas is like the worst of them all. I can speak for personal experience as a card game player. Gachas suck. Don't play them. They're ass. I don't even want to tell you how much money I spent on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, or especially Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links with gachas. And I haven't played Genshin Impact, but when Genshin Impact first came out, that was horrible. People were spending their whole life savings on, pulling, characters and swords and, weapons and shit like that. It's stupid. Don't get involved in it. It's literally gambling. Don't do it. But battle passes along with gachas, they give you FOMO, which means fear of missing out. Because when a game releases and you buy it and you see the battle pass, you know for a fact that you don't want it. You don't want the battle pass. But because you see a skin that you really, really want, and you know that they're not going to put that skin in the shop ever again, the fear of missing out comes over your brain and you end up wasting money that you didn't want to waste on a game that you just got, or a game that you've already purchased from. Now you're spending, you know, $10, $15, $20 or shit, even more, depending on which game you're playing and how greedy they want to be. You're ending up spending 10, 20, 30, 40 more dollars than you want to get a skin. Now you're forcing yourself to grind more than you usually would just to get what you want from the battle pass so that you can make sure that you got your money's worth. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, I'm not, you know, above all this. I've bought battle passes, I've bought skins, I've bought, you know, cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've bought shit from, you know, other card games and shit like that. I'm not immune to this, but I know that it's not good and it shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't have to spend, you know, another $30, $40 or even, you know, a full price of another game on a game that we already own and on a game that we already bought. It shouldn't be like this, but it's such the norm now to where people just kind of numb to it. People expect it people expect it in certain types of games. Like every time you see a new multiplayer first person shooter game or any multiplayer shooting game or a battle royale or something like that, you expect it to be live service. You expect it to have DLC patches with new characters that you need to buy, new skins, new guns, new weapon skins. If it's Valorant, you know, the knives and shit like that, and CSGO and all that other type of shit. It's expected. And it's become such the norm that people just expect it. People don't even really care anymore. And I don't expect this to be, you know, like the thing that, like, you know, gaming companies immediately change on because they make so much money from it. Madden is never gonna get rid of the things like MUT mode or something like that, where you like pull the cars and shit like that. They're never gonna get rid of that because of how many people buy the packs and how many people wail and spend hundreds and thousands of dollars in that mode every year. They're never gonna get rid of it. Till 2K is never gonna get rid of the buying the VC options. Call of Duty is never gonna get rid of the battle passes and the COD points that you can buy and shit like that. None of these games and none of these gaming companies are gonna get rid of this shit because it makes them so much money that they would be stupid to get rid of it. It's very few games and it's very few game companies that like have that kind of like, you know, rule about them to where like they just won't do it. But like it's so common now, and gaming companies see that people don't give a fuck about spending a little extra money if you make the skin or if you make the gun or if you make the character cool enough. Companies see that and they notice that and they don't give a fuck. Because in their eyes, we're gonna buy it anyways, so why change it now? Why change the model that they've been doing for, you know, 5, 6, 7 years and it's been making them, you know, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 40 million dollars every fucking year when they release a game? So why not keep doing it? Why not make the game Overwatch, which was once a one-time purchase game? Why not make it a live service game and have you pay more money with the skins and guns and weapons and characters and everything like that? You want the new healer that's meta? Buy it. Buy the battle pass to get it. You can't get on a free version of the battle pass. Buy it. That's just their motto. They don't give a fuck because we, the audience, are gonna buy it anyways. Again, I'm not immune to this. I've had to buy characters in Overwatch over and over and over and over again. They just got rid of that, finally. But I promise this is not an Overwatch 2 rare. But the fact that the main thing is gaming companies have gotten so used to this that they're never going to change the model with this. I feel like I would be surprised if we reach an era of gaming where microtransactions and DLCs like really like cease like to a halt in gaming. I don't think we'll ever really see that again. I don't really think we'll get to that point. I feel like the best situation that we could hope for with some of these games is free DLC. That's like the best thing that we could hope for is free DLC and free add-ons, but very few games give you free add-ons. Hell, I think the Elden Ring DLC is like $40. So it's like very few games really give you free DLC and free add-ons and, you know, free characters and shit like that. Street Fighter gives you free characters, which I'm fucking thank you Capcom, thank you. Street Fighter gives you, you know, free characters and shit like that. I'm hoping Tekken 8 gives you the characters for free and shit, and you don't have to buy every single new character that comes out in the game because that would kind of be ass. But that's like the best case situation we really can hope for when it comes down to these, you know, live service games or just games in general that are going to be releasing updates and DLC and things like that. But to the main point of the video, I don't think that esports or streaming is the reason why games are like this now, or that gaming could be considered to many people, you know, in a worse state than what it was, you know, 20 years ago or things like that. If anything, I feel like streaming and esports have helped gaming more than I think people give it credit for, especially with streaming, because with streaming, it's kind of become like the safer way to know if you really want a game or not. Because especially now that like we have like people who, I'm not saying like, you know, everybody who reviews games is like this, but we've all seen people who review games, give it a bullshit score, and then say, you know, go out and buy this game. And hell, not even some people who just review the games. Gaming companies can't be trusted anymore. Gaming companies, like the people who made the day before. If you, like, people were genuinely excited for the day before game to come out. Then when it comes out, you release this PS2 ass zombie game and expect people not to be mad at it. If anything, the gaming companies should be the ones that are not trusted. But streaming especially has made gaming become as big and even, you know, mainstream as it is, along with esports, along with tournaments. Because honestly, without either of the two, I feel like gaming would still be in the place where it was back in the 2000s, even back in the 90s. Like, gaming wouldn't be, you know, gaming wouldn't be as big, and gaming industry wouldn't have, you know, so much money. Like, basically anybody could make a game for real, like, especially if you had like a decent budget or whatever. Like, you know, things like the Unreal Engine, I feel like wouldn't just be, you know, released to the public if gaming was still in the space that it was in the 2000s without streaming or without esports. Because in my eyes, especially streaming, hell, streaming has made gaming reach a level that I never really thought it would reach, because I thought gaming would kind of be like anime was back in the day. I thought gaming would kind of be like, you know, this niche thing that would never really, like, I thought gaming would be this kind of, you know, niche hobby that, like, you know, it would be, you know, enjoyed by a lot of people, but not nowhere near as much as it is now. Like, you know, some years ago, like, they were showing, you know, like Overwatch tournaments on like television, like on like, I think it was TBS or TNT or some shit like that. Like, I never would have thought I would see the type of shit on TV before. Like, Disney Channel had their own like gaming shit and everything like that. That type of stuff doesn't happen if it's not for like, you know, YouTubers and streamers and esports or anything like that. Because that type of publicity and, you know, like, you know, just knowledge of the, like, that type of publicity and general knowledge from the public just doesn't happen without esports. And it doesn't happen without streaming, because once esports became a thing, you know, streaming was right behind it. Streaming was right behind it as like the next way to be like the big promotion of your game. Because a lot, especially a lot of indie developers, they could use a lot of streamers to help, you know, promote their game and make their game, you know, be seen by more people than just, you know, trying to get a trailer uploaded to IGN. So I feel like it's kind of unfair to, you know, blame streaming and to blame esports for something that isn't their fault. Because if you know, esports and streaming was a thing back in the 2000s and back in the, you know, early 2010s or hell even the 90s, we wouldn't be saying this about games, because games wouldn't have all these DLCs and microtransactions, shit like that, because that just wasn't a thing back then. It's a newer thing. Is it a good thing? No, I don't like it, but it's something that I just gotta deal with in basically every fucking game, and fighting games, shooting games, whatever. So I just think it's a little unfair to kind of, you know, put the blame on streaming and esports when if anything, they've helped gaming, but a lot of the gaming industry has, you know, downgraded gaming to what it is now. So it's not esports' fault, it's not streaming's fault. These companies just need to stop being fucking greedy.